If you've ever seen the water turn black even for a second run, don't ask questions. Don't look back. And for the love of whatever's left in this world that's still human, don't answer when it whispers your name. I'm not telling you this for clicks. I'm not here for subscribers, likes, or whatever else people chase when they post things like this. I don't even know if this'll stay up, if they'll let it stay up. But I have to try, because someone has to survive this. Here's what you need to understand. Vampire Lake isn't just a name on a map. It moves. It hides in different places, always wearing another face but the same deep hunger. And the worst part? You'll never find stories about it until after you've been there. It's like it's erasing itself. From history, from memory, from Google searches. Yeah, I know how that sounds. I wouldn't believe me either. But what looked like a girl wasn't. And the thing we thought was a boat out in the mist had eyes, huge, slow-opening eyes just below the surface. You ever see something familiar smile the wrong way? Like your friend's face, but the expression doesn't belong to them? Yeah, that started happening around day 2. And the lake god, the lake had asked questions. Not out loud, but all the same, you'd hear him. You'd feel your thoughts crawl out of you, like they wanted to jump in. We didn't go there to find anything. We were 5 idiots in a rented SUV looking to unplug for a weekend. One last trip before the group started breaking apart for good. Jobs, moves. 2 of them even talked about getting married. Just long enough to push the real world off a little further. We thought we were together out there. It only took 2 nights to realize we never really were. I don't know if this warning will reach anybody. Maybe someone's already packed and headed for that stretch of woods. If you are, remember this. When the lake calls to you, don't answer. Don't even think your name near it. It started as one of those trips you take to feel alive. Ironic, right? There were 5 of us. And if you ask me now, I don't think any of us are really here anymore. Not here. Not all the way. We were all in our 20s, dangling somewhere between who we used to be and whoever we thought we'd become. College was behind us. Real life was up ahead like the headlights of a truck you're not sure will hit you or pass you by. So we decided to stall it. One last trip. One last summer. Maya, Jordan, Lexi, Ben, and me. Maya always planned everything. Snacks categorized by sweet versus salty. Cooler divided into beer and hydration. Jordan, our designated driver and the self-appointed gear guy, brought everything except the charger for the car battery pack, of course. Lexi was the wild card. She never said where she got her weed, and frankly, we stopped asking. Ben found the lake. It's perfect, he said, tossing his phone over the seat. Nobody goes there anymore. There's barely any info online, just this thread on a survivalist forum. They call it Vampire Lake. Creepy name, but that's half the fun, right? I remember scrolling through it in the back seat, watching the pine trees blur past the window. The thread had maybe 12 comments. Half were deleted. The rest? Warnings. Stuff like, no birds at dawn leave, and don't follow her into the water, even if it looks like your kid. One guy posted coordinates and then never commented again. Ben thought it was an ARG. It's marketing, he laughed. Watch, next month there'll be a Netflix drop. Whole thing's probably fake. Now I'm wondering if Netflix ever existed at all, or if it's just another thing the lake wants me to remember wrong. The drive took 6 hours. Mostly back roads through pine-choked hills and towns where time had cracked like a floorboard. We stopped for food at this little diner about an hour from the trailhead. Old school, greasy, smelled like someone was trying to hide the fact they still smoked inside. That local lake still open for camping? Ben asked, casual, smiling behind his sunglasses. Dead. Silence. The waitress froze mid-pour with my coffee. The guys with trucker caps at the bar went still like animals smelling smoke. What lake? She asked. Her voice had bent, just slightly. Ben pulled out his phone, thumbed through the map. Just a few miles north of here, Vampire Lake? That's what they're calling it online, anyway. Kind of a spooky legend vibe. I wouldn't know anything about that, she said quickly. Too quickly. The kind of fast you learn at funerals. Mountain air gets strange at night. That's all. Nobody in the place looked us in the eyes after that. I should have listened to the man at the gas station. We stopped there about 20 minutes later, last pit stop, last chance. He was old, bent like his bones no longer trusted the weight of his own memories. Said he used to hunt, Out that way, before the trees went weird. People still going out there? He asked as Jordan filled the tank. Just us, Maya said with a grin. Any advice? He didn't laugh, just stared at the side of the van like something was moving inside it. People think forests are quiet, he whispered, stepping close to my side. They're not. Listen right, and they talk back. But lakes, he shook his head. Lakes don't talk. They listen. They remember. I asked him what he meant, but his mouth clamped shut. Ben dropped the keys on the dash like a dramatic full stop. You people need hobbies, he muttered. It's a lake, not the gates of hell. He wasn't wrong. Not exactly. The trail to the camping grounds was overgrown. Looked like nobody had bothered in years. Ben was thrilled it meant we'd have it to ourselves. Lexi joked about vampires and Twilight, and whether she should have brought garlic. Nobody laughed that hard, but we were all still pretending. I don't remember who spotted the lake first. Only that the second I saw it, my stomach flipped like we were skidding on ice. Not fear, not even awe, just this feeling. Like something had been holding its breath, and had just noticed that we'd arrived. But by the time we saw the lake, it was like something had already decided we were too late. He only told me once I bought the gas the story about the lake that drinks you in. It was right after Ben paid, and the others were already piling back into the van, arguing about who got AUX next. I hung back by the register, fiddling with a pack of gum I didn't want. I hadn't even said anything, but the old man behind the counter looked at me like he'd been expecting someone. You're headed up near the water, he said, not a question. I gave a half nod. Yeah, Vampire Lake, or whatever it's really called. That word, vampire, made his fingers twitch like I'd set off some alarm only he could hear. They used to have a different name for it, he said slowly. A long time ago, before the maps changed, before the drownings started. He leaned forward like he was about to share something forbidden. They say the lake was fed by blood before it ever saw rain. I laughed, mostly out of awkwardness. Like a sacrificial site or something? But he wasn't smiling. He kept watching me, his eyes glassy with something ancient and burdened. People think curses show up in fire, shadows, howling winds. But water's different. It welcomes you. It makes you think you're safe. Then it remembers where the weight should go. I glanced toward the van. Maya was waving at me through the passenger window. The others had started the engine. He didn't move. My brother camped there 34 years ago, he murmured. Worked rescue up north. Said the maps were suddenly wrong, like the woods shifted when they weren't watching. 3 kids vanished. The 4th came out raving about mirrors under the water and faces inside trees. No shoes. No fingernails. Died a week later. Starved in a locked hospital room. I felt cold in a way I couldn't explain, like his words were reaching past my ears and settling somewhere deeper. You ever seen footprints in the water? He asked, almost gently. Coming out, but not in? I didn't answer. Couldn't. They stopped talking about it. Town council got quiet. Maps got redrawn. But it's still there, listening. He paused, looked over his shoulder even though nobody else was around. I caught it, then a flicker of fear in a man who looked like he hadn't feared anything in decades. Sometimes, he whispered, I think she comes out just enough to tell stories. Spins them through the mouths of kids like yours. Lets you feel real brave just before you break. I swallowed hard. Who's she? He blinked. Something closed behind his eyes. I didn't say that. My pulse kicked. Yes, you? No, I didn't. His voice sharpened. They listen. When you speak of her too clearly, sometimes they feed. Something flickered behind him, a shadow that shouldn't have been there, and for a half second, I felt like I was being watched from inside the glass on the drink fridge. He slid a paper map across the counter, yellowed and cracked. Used to be a church where the lake is now. Way back, before foundations. Built atop something older. They buried it deep, but roots grow sideways in this place. You understand? I didn't. Not really. But I nodded like I did. What was it? He rubbed the side of his neck like he could feel someone breathing down it. Nobody knows if it was human first. Ain't much difference now, anyhow. Maya honked the horn. The sound snapped the moment like ice into pieces. The man looked at me one last time. Circle the lake 3 times, and it knows your name. Sleep there, and it learns your weaknesses. I shoved the gum in my pocket and left without another word. I laughed it off. Stupid, I know. But the laughter didn't sound right. The lake didn't reflect us. It looked like it was pulling our shadows under. We didn't notice it at first, not really. I mean, it was beautiful. Picture perfect, even. The clearing opened like we'd stepped into a postcard. Still water, mist curling around the edges like breath, tree lines so still it looked painted on. Holy crap, Ben was actually right for once, Lexi said, hopping down out of the van, arms stretched wide like she was absorbing it. Tell Netflix we found their next horror set. Jordan whistled low. This is some witchy Blair, which kind of beauty. Guess we die aesthetic. Everyone laughed. The pressure hit me as soon as I stepped near the tree line. Like altitude sickness, but sideways. Not oxygen deep. More like my bones suddenly remembered gravity differently. I thought it was just me, until Maya rubbed her nose and muttered, "Weird. I think I'm bleeding. Just a few drops. Nothing major." She wiped it on her sleeve and kept walking like it didn't mean anything. But it felt like it did. Birds were strangely absent. No chirps, no rustle of wings. Just the occasional creak of trees shifting in a wind we couldn't feel. Ben said it was just late summer quiet. But I swear, the silence sounded tuned. Like the forest was holding its breath, waiting. We set up camp along the east side, by a slope of flat rocks that looked perfect for stargazing or sacrificing goats. The jokes flew fast. You know, if a vampire eats you at a place called Vampire Lake, it's your own fault, Jordan said, tossing logs in a pile. Maya's the only one who fits the final girl trope, Lexi pointed out. I'm giving myself 5 minutes. Guys, Ben was standing by the water. Come look. We gathered beside him, boots crunching on gravel. In the center of the lake, the water shifted just for a second. It turned from shimmering green-brown to something oily and black, like slick paint stirred too slow. Then it was gone. You all saw that, right? I asked. Algae shadow, Ben shrugged. Depth tricks. But none of us moved closer to the edge. That's when the fish floated past. 3 of them belly up, eyes clouded. They drifted in silence. Then one by one, like something reached up and plucked them, they vanished beneath the surface. No splash. No ripple. Just gone. Later, I'd look back on this moment and wonder if that was at the first choice point. The first offer. A handshake disguised as a shadow. And I think now, the lake wanted her first. We just didn't know it yet. That night was the last time we slept. She came out of the water like she'd always been there. Like the lake gave birth to her. It was sometime after 2 a.m. when I woke up. Not from a sound. Exactly more like a pattern. Faint. Distant. Almost like someone crying. But rhythmic, at perfect intervals. High-low. High-low. Repeat. It didn't sound human. Or maybe it did, and that's what made it worse. Lexi was still passed out in her hammock. Jordan had earbuds in, snoring lightly. But Maya's sleeping bag? Empty. I froze. Scanned the trees. The fire had burned down to embers, just enough light to throw long, twitching shadows across the rocks. I grabbed my flashlight and crept toward the lake. That's when I saw her, floating at the edge, face up, hair haloed out around her like something sacred or drowned. For one awful second I thought it was Maya, but then the flashlight hit her face, and it wasn't. She looked too clean. No dirt, no scratches. Fingernails painted, pale enough to be carved from wax. We all came running, even Ben. He knelt down, touched her neck, his fingers shook. She's breathing. Her eyes snapped open. She sat up so suddenly that Jordan nearly fell into the water, trying to backpedal. Where am I? Her voice had that dazed innocence, like a scared kid in a grocery store. Sincerity, or something doing a good impression of it. What's your name? Maya asked gently, keeping a few feet of space. The girl blinked again, and again, then smiled. I don't know. We wrapped her in blankets, gave her some of our water. No phone, no ID. Her clothes were damp but spotless, like she'd never been in the woods at all. She said she'd been out here for days, but her hands didn't show it. No cuts, no calluses, just porcelain skin and eyes that flicked too fast for someone exhausted. Lexi kept whispering, "What if she's a plant?" Ben Googled every missing persons bulletin for the county. Nothing. No match. No reports. Jordan said maybe she'd wandered in from one of the private cabins along the ridge, hit her head. That made sense in broad daylight. But in that moment, watching her sit still as stone while the fire reflected only on her eyes, it didn't feel like enough. We set her up near the fire, away from the lake. Nobody wanted to leave her alone or closer to the water. I swear she never blinked after that. Not once. An hour later, Maya was gone again. I caught her about 5 feet from the shore, walking barefoot, arms slack at her sides. I called her name. She didn't even flinch. When I reached her, her skin was cold, ice cold, like she'd been standing in snow, not pine needles. Her lips moved, barely. She was whispering something over and over. I dragged her back, and she didn't resist. Just sat down near the fire again, like nothing had happened. Eyes glassy. Her hand gripped mine like she was trying to keep from floating away. Ben said it was sleepwalking. Said it ran in families. Lexi joked half-heartedly that maybe the girl was some freaky water nymph, but no one laughed this time. And Jordan looked back toward the lake like he saw something. His voice sounded dull when he finally spoke. "Guys, someone's there. Under the water." We all turned. Nothing. Just mist and reflection. But I saw it. Not a figure. Not a face. Just eyes. Open. Watching. Below. She kept whispering the same word all night. We thought it was gibberish. Later, I looked it up. It was Latin for ascend. Or maybe awaken. The man at the lodge said no one had stayed there in 30 years. Then showed me a guest book, with our names already in it. It started when Maya asked me to drive her into town, just to get out of the trees for a bit. She didn't say it, but I knew it was about the girl. She was still there when we left, sitting by the water, legs crossed, staring into the fog like it was singing to her. Jordan and Ben were uneasy. Lexi was pretending not to be, but everyone agreed. The girl was weirdly calm for someone claiming to have been lost in the woods for 3 days with no friends, no family, not a single question about what day it was. So Maya and I left. 10 miles down the mountain. Tiny town clutching the edge of the map. We found the lodge first, more gas station than hotel, but they had a clerk, dusty maps, bathrooms with real sinks. Maya grabbed snacks. I asked about cabins near the lake. Not since '92, he said. Place got written off after the wildfires. No one really went back. I hesitated. You sure? We're pretty sure we saw some old trails. Thought I saw a structure through the trees. He raised an eyebrow. No cabins left standing. Then he reached under the desk, pulled out a cracked leather guest book with a crooked smile. But some people still say they stayed. I flipped it open, expecting nothing. 4th page in. My name. All 5 of us. Written beneath a date from 1987. I shut the book fast, and the pit in my stomach felt like it grew teeth. Maya was pale. Why would anyone? I didn't want to finish the question. We went to the sheriff's office next. Antlers, faded flags, the usual. The front desk officer barely looked up. Lost camper, he asked. Maya nodded, describing the girl. Age, clothes, hair. We hadn't even learned her name. He pointed toward an old bulletin board that looked too familiar. Missing kids, hikers, a couple faded newspaper clippings with words like vanished and unsolved. One of the photos dated August 1974 nearly made me sit down. It was her. The girl. Same face. Same faint smile. Same damn sundress. I asked the officer about it. He glanced at the photo, then at me. Something closed off behind his face. Old stories, he said. Sometimes people see what they want to see out there. But she's up there. Right now? At the lake. He didn't blink. Then I suggest you come back down. And don't go looking for what didn't want to be found the first time. Maya pulled me out before I could keep pressing. Back at the campsite, things had turned. Lexi was gone. Ben was shouting from the tree line, claiming she just got up and walked straight into the woods like she heard someone. Jordan was searching the shoreline, calling her name. And the girl? Still sitting by the water. Legs perfectly folded. Eyes never off the lake. We found Lexi's pack near the rocks. Her phone still inside, battery dead. No sign of her otherwise except a trail of something red and wet leading from the trees into the lake. There were no footprints. No struggle. Just that slow trail that stopped exactly where the water began. None of us said it, but we all knew it looked too clean. Too deliberate. Ben snapped first. Claimed the girl was lying. That she was leading us into something. Said maybe this was all a game, cult bait. or a freaky psychology experiment? You don't get it, I said. She was in a photo from the 70s. The sheriff saw it. She's been here before. Jordan swallowed hard. No, she's always been here. That's when the girl finally spoke. She turned her head, it sounded like thin wood creaking, and smiled. Not everything you find means you're supposed to remember it. That night, the fire roared higher than it should have. Jordan poured every piece of dry wood we had into it. Ben wouldn't stop pacing. Maya sat hunched over, mouthing the same word again and again, like she was trying to wring meaning out of it. Delacy Knox. That's what the girl had whispered at the lake's edge when no one was watching. Maya repeated it like a prayer or a confession. If you find this story, look up Delacy Knox. I still don't know what it means, but I think the government does. That night, we built a fire, like it would keep the dark out. But what if the dark was already inside? I thought vampires were supposed to bite. This one breathed you in. That night, I couldn't sleep, not that any of us really could anymore. The fire burned low, and everything felt cold again, way colder than mountain air should have been. I don't remember deciding to walk back to the lake. 1 second I was staring into the flames, and the next I was already halfway there, feet moving like strings had been pulled behind my knees. It didn't feel wrong. It felt inevitable. The girl was gone. The moon was just a sliver, enough to catch the ripples across the black. The surface was calm, too calm. Then I saw the hair. At first, I thought it was seaweed or old rope, drifting just along the surface. But it moved like it had weight. It twisted and reached upward, coiling around something Ben. Arms limp, eyes wide, his mouth moving but no sound coming out. He was standing in the water as it rose past his chest, and that hair kept dragging him down. It wrapped around his shoulders, threaded into his mouth like it wanted to puppet him. I ran toward the edge, shouting his name, but something in the water shifted. And then I saw it. Below the surface, maybe 10 feet down, something was staring back at me. 2 pale eyes, massive and empty, like sinkholes in ivory porcelain. No pupils, just gorgeously smooth voids, so big they didn't look like they should belong to anything alive. And lower a mouth, not fanged or bloody or monstrous, just smiling, softly, lovingly, like it was proud of me for finally noticing. I fell to my knees, the air ripped from my chest. It felt like something had inhaled me, not physically, but all at once. Like my thoughts, my breath, my warmth, were being gently pulled out cell by cell. It was too much and not enough. I can't explain it. My mind started spiraling. I thought about every version of myself I could have been. The jobs I almost took. The people I almost loved. Choices unchosen. And in the water, I saw them. Flashes of those other versions, me in suits. Me with gray hair. Me laughing with people I didn't recognize. One me standing by the lake, smiling like he belonged to it. Skin pale, and eyes dim like he'd forgotten what being alive felt like. That version stepped closer to the surface. I leaned in. I don't know what would have happened if Maya hadn't screamed. Her voice cut through everything, the world, the pull, whatever trance I was under. Suddenly my lungs worked again, my body thawed out. I drew back just in time to see Ben's foot vanish into the lake, swallowed like it had never been there. I swear to you, the thing smiled wider. Maya fell beside me, sobbing, and I noticed the trail of blood running from her nose again. Behind us, Jordan stood with a shovel in his hands, eyes burning like all the fear had turned into heat. She wants us, he said. Not to eat, to hold, to keep. He pointed to the water. No reflections, he whispered. Look, nothing, just suggestions. I stepped closer, held my breath, and looked down. And there it was again, not my reflection, but my trajectory. An image of me standing in the lake, knee-deep, patting the girl's shoulder like we'd known each other for lifetimes. Behind me, Jordan, Maya, Lexi, Ben, all transformed in subtle ways. Eyes too wide, smiles too symmetrical, stone-still posture, like a photograph of people pretending to be people. I blinked and it was gone. What is she? I asked. Jordan didn't answer right away, just knelt by the edge, trembling now. She's not a story, he said. She's the thing that builds stories. She polishes them until they shine and then buries them in the water. So deep no one remembers they ever happened. I wanted to scream, run, anything. But the silence held me. Maybe it wasn't what she looked like that made her monstrous. Maybe it was how gentle she was, how carefully she erased us. This wasn't about souls, or blood, or even death. It was about memory, about identity. She didn't kill you. She hollowed you, left enough for the lake to fill. And the horrifying part was, some of those versions of me didn't look unhappy. They looked content, like they'd made peace with being forgotten. That night, I saw every version of myself, and only one of them walked away. They bled black, and not all of them bled at all. We tried to leave the next morning, packed the bags, killed the fire, didn't even bother folding the tents, just shoving things into the car with silent, burning desperation. But the road back wasn't there. Or it was, but it looped. I drove for a full hour, GPS spinning like it was drunk, and somehow ended up staring at our own campsite again. Same broken cooler, same ashes, same eyes watching from the water's edge. Lexi was the first to reappear. We'd written her off as gone, maybe dead, devoured by whatever the thing in the lake was. But just as we stumbled back into camp in shock, there she was sitting cross-legged by the fire pit, hair clean, nails freshly painted, smiling faintly like she'd just woken from a nap. Not a scratch on her, not even dirt on her shoes. Jordan hugged her before any of us could stop him. I remember his voice shaking. "Lex, where the hell what happened?" Then she said it. "Do you think I should use the pink nail polish or the coral?" Same question, same tone, same order of words she'd said 2 nights ago. The thing was, we hadn't told her we heard that. We'd all laugh quietly when she said it, joking about apocalypse chic. But this wasn't a joke. Her voice lagged, like audio that had been paused and resumed too late. She didn't blink, just smiled, perfectly curved lips with nothing behind them. Jordan saw it in her eyes first. I watched the warmth drain out of his face. He pulled back like she'd burned him. "She's not Lexi," he whispered. Ben didn't wait. He grabbed a frying pan and smashed it into her head, no warning, no hesitation. I didn't even have time to scream. She didn't cry out, didn't gasp, just cracked. Her head split open like an overripe fruit, but the stuff that oozed out wasn't blood. It was thick, black, like ink, like molasses after a fire. And then it stopped flowing mid-drip as if it had just decided inertia wasn't necessary anymore. We all stared. Ben dropped the pan. "She wasn't real," he murmured. "They send things back. Changelings, or I don't know. Copies." Maya threw up. I nearly did the same. That night, I don't remember falling asleep. 1 minute, I was sitting upright, shaking. The next, I jolted awake in the lake. I was waist-deep. No clue how I got there. No footprints in the mud behind me. No path through the brush. My hands were wrinkled, freezing. I stumbled back to shore, coughing up water I don't remember drinking. I checked myself for bites. I'd tell myself later, half laughing, half sobbing. But the real damage was in the mirror. I looked empty, like someone had peeled off my name and put it back just slightly wrong. Ben started sleeping with a knife under his pillow. Jordan stopped sleeping at all. And Maya started humming that word from before Delacy knocks, over and over again, like it was a lullaby she didn't remember learning. On the 3rd night, she walked into the water. I followed, screaming, pleading. She turned back to face me, soaked and shivering, and smiled a small, peaceful smile I hadn't seen since our first year of college. "It's not bad," she said. "It's warm down there." Then her voice dropped an octave, not deeper, but older. There was something beautiful about it. He called me by my real name. I didn't even know I had one. I begged her, swore I'd never forgive her, told her I loved her. Whatever flicker of her was still in there, I tried to reach it. She cupped my face, kissed my forehead. "I know, but this feels like coming home." And then she sank. No struggle, no scream. Like the water opened up and folded around her as gently as a bed. I ran back to camp, howling. Ben thought I was next, held the knife against my throat until I collapsed from exhaustion. By morning, no one spoke. Lexi's body, if it was a body, was gone. Ben wouldn't eat. Jordan paced circles around the campsite like he was trying to remember what direction reality was. That night, I climbed onto a boulder overlooking the lake, stared into the place where Maya disappeared, watched as the water shifted like breath, soft and slow. They were all in there, somewhere. Sisters, brothers, friends, strangers. Versions of us, waiting to trade places. When the sun rose, I was the only one not in the water. I ran through the fog, but it was like the lake kept folding behind me, like the trees moved to keep me in frame. Like I was a story being told, and someone didn't want it to end yet. Branches whipped my arms. Mud sucked at my shoes. Every breath burned like my ribs forgot how to hold them. Behind me, I swear I heard my name whispered sweet and slow, like wind churning milk. At the shoreline, the others were waiting. Maya, Jordan, even Ben, standing waist deep in the lake. Faces turned toward me with those blank, wet smiles. Ben tilted his head. His jaw had cracked wide open, too wide, like something beneath was trying out the shape of a grin for the first time. Maya lifted her hands soft, inviting, and I almost stopped. I did. There was something in her eyes, not just peace. Something deeper. Obedience. Devotion. Like the lake didn't even need to control her anymore. She wanted it. I turned and ran. The fog thickened like glue. My thoughts blurred. A heartbeat passed, maybe 100. Time felt sideways. I swear the trees whispered things behind my back. Things I swore I knew but couldn't remember hearing before. At some point, my flashlight died. Or maybe I dropped it. All I know is the light was gone. But I kept going. Then the path appeared. The real one. The rusty white gate. The broken signpost. My hands were bleeding, and I didn't know why. But that was the first time I felt true fear, because I was almost out. And something knew it. The lake poured itself into my mind. I saw versions of myself dying again and again, in subtle ways, jobless, forgotten, hospitalized, babbling about eyes in the deep. I saw myself drowning with a smile. I saw myself drinking lake water straight from cupped hands. I reached the road just as a car passed. I waved, screamed. It slowed slightly. Inside, a woman was driving. Pale blue jacket. A little white dog in the passenger seat. She looked right at me and smiled like Maya. She didn't stop. As the car passed, her mouth moved against the window. "You should be here." And then it was gone. My knees gave out. My body collapsed on damp gravel. I remember the sound of tires high, rising and falling, and then nothing. Black. I woke up soaked to the bone on the steps of a ranger station 2 towns south. My phone was in my jacket pocket. No cracked screen. Full charge. There were new photos in it. Not of me. Not even of us. Old, grainy shots, black and white. Groups of campers, 10 or 12 at a time, standing perfectly still near lakes or rivers. Smiling that same, empty smile. I tried deleting them. They came back. I made it out, I think. But some days, especially when it rains, I still feel thirsty. Have you ever felt water drip from your hair, even when it hasn't rained? Maybe just a drop, sliding down your neck cold enough to make you shiver. But you're inside. Dry. Nowhere near water. It's been weeks since the lake. Months. Maybe I'm not really sure anymore. Time feels thinner now, more like mist than minutes. But the dreams haven't stopped. And what's worse, I've started seeing you in them. Yeah, you. The one listening. The one watching. Sometimes I hear your voice. Sometimes I see your face. Lit by a dim screen. Leaning in just enough to be pulled through. They come as flashes, moments I shouldn't know. Faces that haven't aged yet. Deaths that haven't happened. Drownings. Disappearances. Vanishing footprints in lakes I've never been to. Tell me this straight up. Does this sound familiar? A lake you can't quite locate on a map, but swear you once visited. A weekend trip no one else remembers. Photos on your phone of people you don't recognize. That pressing, squeezing chill right before sleep, like someone's watching from beneath the floorboards or the plumbing. If that sounds like you need to pay attention. Seriously, I don't know if what we saw was confined to that one place. I don't think it is. I think it spreads through memory, through retelling. Like a parasite hitching a ride through stories. It wants to be remembered, or feared, or worshipped. I'm not sure it even cares which. So if you're hearing this now, if you've come this far, you've already opened the door. Look through your camera roll. Search your inbox for strange coordinates. And please, if you have any old photos by a lake you can't remember taking, don't delete them. Don't look away from them, either. Sometimes the lake puts things in. Sometimes it takes things out. Leave a comment if you've seen her eyes. Or if something's been calling to you in your sleep, asking questions that aren't in your voice. I'm not saying I can help, but if there's more of us, if we form a pattern, maybe we can stop it from going further. Or maybe it just wants me to spread the warning, because that's part of the game. I don't know, but I had to try. One last thing. Check your reflection next time you're near water. And if it's smiling before you do get out,